Welcome to The Conspiracy Show. My name is Richard Syrett. What would you say if I told you that the Apollo space program, the lunar landing in 1969, the Space Shuttle program, were all window dressing, designed to distract the public, and all the while, there is a parallel secret space program developing and utilizing technology generations ahead of our wildest dreams. All this is going on with little or no government oversight. Even the President of the United States, apparently, does not have a need to know that such a secret space program likely put a man on the moon, even bases on the moon, a generation before Neil Armstrong in 1969. Or that such a program has already achieved interstellar travel, anti-gravity, even conquered light speed. We're about to meet, among others, an aerospace historian who says he has documented proof that the U.S. military has created space vehicles equipped with anti-gravitic devices that are also capable of light speed. We'll hear from a physicist with insider information who says the U.S. military has most likely back-engineered field propulsion technology from the site of a crashed extraterrestrial vehicle. And we'll get a skeptical perspective from a physicist who says although these claims are fascinating, they're not grounded in good science. Me, I just want the truth, and I'm willing to follow the truth wherever it may lead. It is time to redefine reality. Genetic enigma or a human alien hybrid?
There was at least two gunmen. One was firing from the nose.
Is it possible technology can alter weather patterns?
Created by the
Has been engineered by the Illuminati?
There's no doubt.
I'm talking about a level of technology that has no congressional oversight, no public scrutiny. There are a whole series of aircraft that the public has no idea that actually exist. And if you work in one of these projects and the president gives you specific details for that program and asks for the information, your mandatory reply is to be, Mr. President, no such project exists.
The people that work in these black ops programs are told to lie to the president.
Absolutely.
The Black Ops program in general has had a black budget. It's called a black budget, essentially, by the Pentagon. And essentially, it's an unaccounted for expenditure by the Pentagon to mostly a group in the Area 51 S4 area that has a blank check to develop whatever they like, keep it secret, and never disclose it even after decades of work.
Electrogravitic, anti-gravity, we're talking about magnetohydrodynamic, we're talking about aerospike, linear aerospike propulsion systems, something that you would never see at your local air show.
He's right. And as you explore more and more of the Black Project community and you try to glean what little facts we know about their behavior, with literally $30 billion being sent to them now, where it was only $15 billion before the Bush era, still that's an incredible amount of money. And it's hard to spend that when you're a limited, tiny group.
Back in the 50s, the newspapers were filled with reports that the U.S. military were close to a breakthrough on some sort of field propulsion technology or anti-gravitic technology. Then in 1959 or thereabouts, all those news reports stopped as if there was a blackout. What can you tell me about what they were researching and what they may have discovered?
Well, the 1956 reports from the UK Aviation Studies Limited think tank, which is still in existence today, particularly targeted electrogravitic systems. And that was the phrase they used to describe the work by Townsend Brown. And the interesting thing is, just a quote from them in their report, they claim that Townsend Brown was predicting a Mach 2 saucer from electrogravitics, which is an electrical means to control gravity.
Anti-gravity shouldn't be confused with things like levitation that you can achieve with magnets and other lifters and things like that. Those are not anti-gravity devices. So there's no link. When you see someone using a magnetic levitation device and saying they're canceling out gravity, that's not possible.
Well, it depends on what your definition and what you think anti-gravity is.
Is anti-gravity permitted under general relativity?
Anti-gravity is permitted under general relativity because general relativity just describes a warping of space and time. If you warp it in the right direction, you can have something like anti-gravity.
There are thousands of employees at the Skunk Works right now, and we have no idea what's going on there. They're building something.
From my own investigations, I know that there have been deep space platforms in outer space long before even they are going to the moon. The one incident that I wanted to recount to you is my interview with Frank Ferguson, where he tells me that his father was instrumental in working on a deep space platform in 1957. Looking at how long ago this has been put into play makes me wonder what in the world we've got out there now.
Tell me a little bit about Skunk Works.
Skunk Works was founded after World War II, and they started making the most incredible aircraft that mankind has ever known about. The U-2 spy plane, the SR-71, the F-104, Mach 2 aircraft interceptor, the F-117 stealth fighter, and then a whole series of aircraft that we don't even know about. There are thousands of employees at the Skunk Works right now, and we have no idea what's going on there. They're building something.
Actually, I hesitate to go into too much detail because, unfortunately, everything that I would say would tend to be unbelievable.
So what is this one, Michael?
This is the Boeing Phantom Works bird of prey. It was declassified during the Bush administration. This did fly at Area 51.
Looks somewhat like a UFO. I could see how someone could mistake that for a UFO.
Absolutely. Here you see the pulsar or flying pumpkin seed demonstrator. So essentially, Richard, what they've done here is they've got 4 turbojet engines buried within the fuselage of this aircraft, pushing it across the sky at about 12,000 miles an hour.
That's Mach.
That's somewhere around Mach 12. It can get from Los Angeles to Hawaii in about 15 minutes.
Dr. Chang, current physics says it's impossible for a body with mass to travel at the speed of light. Can this speed limitation be overcome in the future, do you think?
It is conceivable at some point in the future.
I don't think so. The requirement to have this exotic matter in order to make it work, no one's actually found what this stuff should be.
This would have to have ways of bending the laws of physics like that we know of, right, in order to allow this to be possible.
You can make a plane not only appear invisible to radar, but to the human eye.
Absolutely.
Is that operational?
It is operational. They are using electrochromic panels to electrically transfer what is in back of the aircraft up to the forward section of the aircraft, thereby allowing it to blend in with the background, making it invisible. This is the A-12 Avenger II. This is a joint McDonnell-Douglas General Dynamics program, an all-weather attack aircraft designed to replace the A-6 Intruder.
Is there anything you can show me that employed anti-gravitic technology?
Oh, absolutely. How does this aircraft fly? In a nutshell, what we're dealing with here is a high voltage electrical charge which is fed into this 12-foot diameter Tesla coil. Once that happens, there's a magnetic field that forms above this craft in the form of a toroid donut, and by way of this rheostat device, the pilot had the capability of overlaying those field lines onto these capacitor plates, Richard, causing pitch, yaw, and roll, and that's how the vehicle flies.
Light speed?
And better.
It looks like a UFO. That's a flying saucer.
Aerospace giant McDonnell Douglas is developing aircraft that will look and fly like the UFOs in the X-Files. So here we go right here from Jane's Defense Weekly.
It's definitely U.S. military. They actually confirmed as the craft flew overhead slowly with no sound, they videotaped the underside of it, which actually had some U.S. markings on it.
Are you suggesting they were, in fact, developed through back engineering UFO propulsion systems, maybe retrieved at a UFO crash?
The only thing I can comment on that, Richard, is the probability that something along what you just mentioned may be a code name called Snowbird or Snow Sparrow, and that's how I'll answer that question.
Well, to answer where they got the technology, it's open to speculation. But in general, back engineering of captured craft tends to be the most popular theory.
So 9 years before Neil Armstrong landed at Tranquility Base on the moon, we already had the technology to get there using anti-gravity.
We have main engine start and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Challenger, go with throttle up. Challenger, go with throttle up.
Astronauts have died participating in the Gemini space program, the Apollo space program, and of course the Shuttle space program. It sounds to me, based on what you're saying, all of these deaths were unnecessary because they were the result, by large measure, of rocket fuel explosions. We don't need rocket fuel anymore if we've already achieved anti-gravity.
That's exactly the point, Richard. What we're seeing in the obsolete dinosaur space shuttle is a tragedy to the highest extreme. The Nazis were using liquid rockets before World War II. Why are we still using it now? This is just incredible. I can't believe we're still using it now. It's completely obsolete, Rick. Completely obsolete.
Who's ever in control of this technology, why won't they share it?
Okay, Richard, let's consider January 28th, 1986, the Challenger exploded. Do we have the technology, or did we have the technology back then to avert that tragedy? Absolutely, because the research and development going into anti-gravity propulsion systems, atomic-powered spacecraft and aircraft started in 1955, Richard, and by 1960, they made the breakthrough. So 9 years before Neil Armstrong landed at Tranquility Base on the moon, we already had the technology to get there using anti-gravity.
Well, I don't even think it's an if anymore. I think we do have anti-gravitic technology. It can't be released because we've got to finish this crazy era of fossil fuel, oil, and so forth. It's being controlled.
What might an anti-gravitic device look like?
If I knew how to build such a device, I would certainly be a very wealthy astrophysicist.
I mean, we're many, many, many years away from even getting close to that level of technology and knowing how to turn those equations into something real.
Someone has a eureka moment where they make a breakthrough with this, studying this technology. Maybe it can be a great money-making opportunity, a nice ground floor investment opportunity. Suddenly their incentive for giving up this secret goes even lower now. Think about something like Roswell, where it is said, and I happen to believe, something came down that was not manufactured by human hands, technology that was very exotic. So now pretend it's 1947 and you're the President of the United States and you are now informed that we've recovered some very exotic technology. What exactly would you do with it? Does one really think that they would want to share something as exotic as alien technology with the world? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. What I think they would do, I think the most logical thing is, Truman would gather together his top advisors and he would say, okay, let's get a handle on this. Let's figure out what we're going to do here. Your job is going to be to see if private industry can study and replicate some of this. Your job is going to be to manage the media and the academic community and scientific community. And your job will be to find out how bad the public panic might be, and so forth. All of the logical questions, I think, that we would ask were asked. And what that meant is that the secrecy over this technology became very, very deeply secret and ensconced within the clandestine research world.
UFO historian Richard Dolan has posited that the technology that the elites, the super rich, have at their disposal almost constitutes a separate civilization. Would you concur with that?
I would absolutely concur with that. They have their own intelligence gathering mechanism, their own financial gathering mechanism, their own Air Force, their own Navy. It's a completely rogue international group, absolutely. There is such a secret space program.
There is so much proof that there is a major cover-up. So you know that that this is real, and then you probably have to be on NASA's wavelength and say, how are we going to tell the people? There is no mechanism for just coming out and doing disclosure.
There is a gentleman by the name of Ben R. Rich, who was the former head of Lockheed Skunk Works between 1975 and 1991. He passed away in 1995. Just before he passed away, he told a good aviation friend of mine, quote, "We have things flying that are 50 years beyond what you could possibly even dream of. If you've seen it on Star Wars or Star Trek, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort."
First of all, you got to understand, well, these men, when they're older and in deathbed testimony, are giving us clues to not only is this real, but how far the back engineering has come along. Gordon Cooper, let's remember him. He tried so hard to get NASA and the government to talk about this. He's a test pilot. He saw a landing. They filmed the landing. He's an astronaut.
Well, there's many ways you could interpret that, and I particularly, at least some point in this interview, want to cite that I'm still a part-time government employee, and nothing I say reflects the official position of the government. But that opens a whole can of worms that you could talk for hours about.
If we've already attained light speed, does that mean that we already have colonies on Mars, the Moon, distant stars?
Well, think about what Ben Rich said. He stated that we now have the technology to take ET back home. So I'll leave it to your discretion what that might mean.
This secret was not about the aliens. It was not about panic all over the world. It was about protecting a technology that did not use fossil fuels, a technology that was very sophisticated, and it came, I will even tell you, it came before 1947, the Roswell crash.
You have so many thousands of people working on something like that. The whole thing is just colossal. I don't know how someone could keep something so secret.
For those that are suggesting that after 60 years of funneling money into various black ops programs, that the U.S. military has been able to construct this parallel secret space program in which they are, in fact, developing anti-gravitic devices. They are developing propulsion systems using zero-point energy. They are achieving superluminal or light speed. What would you say to those people that make those claims?
The question I would have for them is that given all this money, and given the size, given the number of people, where is the evidence?
You have so many thousands of people working on something like that. The whole thing is just colossal. I don't know how someone could keep something so secret.
It's hidden in plain sight, so to speak. There are leaks that have occurred for over 60 years. They constantly occur. The problem is that the leaks are deniable. Government agencies, official government agencies, continue to say, no, we have no evidence, we have no proof, we have no... Meanwhile, insiders have continually leaked information out. It's every year there's more information that comes out. So the problem is how to get official government confirmation of these things. That's always the issue. Ask yourself this: what would constitute proof to you personally?
There's a quote from Donald Rumsfeld just before 9/11.
Correct.
In which he announced that there was $2.3 trillion unaccounted for within the Defense Department.
Right.
Was he referring to Black Ops money?
I believe so, because the fraud, waste, and abuse within these special access programs has gone rogue, and there's no congressional oversight and no public scrutiny. We really need to examine these programs.
We're dealing with military, above top secret military people. So it's a strange group. And of course they're protected around Area 51 and AS4 by another paramilitary private organization.
I can't sit here in all honesty and tell you that I believe we've achieved light speed or anti-gravity, or that we've traveled to the stars or colonized Mars. But I am quite certain that over the last 50 or 60 years, trillions of dollars have been siphoned off and funneled into these special Black Op programs. Who knows what kind of military technology the U.S. government now has at its disposal?
It is very dangerous to believe that everything we're seeing in the skies is an alien vehicle. I don't think you can tell anymore what is ours and what is theirs.
95% of what people are reporting as extraterrestrial UFOs, Richard, are in point of fact our own deep black programs. The remaining 5% represent the core of reality of this phenomenon.
Our military aerospace historian, Michael Syrett, was most convincing and his research incredibly thorough. And what of UFO journalist Paula Harris, who says she's talked to insiders who claimed we've already built deep space platforms? Well, Paula has a great deal of integrity, and her sources make remarkable claims. But for me, I need more evidence. I'm now also quite certain that the majority of UFO sightings can be attributed to U.S. military hardware. These aren't spacecraft of extraterrestrial origin. They're made in the good old USA. And now, I'd like to know what you think. You can contact us here at The Conspiracy Show through our website, www.theconspiracyshow.com. In the meantime, don't be afraid.